Have you ever woken up with the haunting sense that life is simply repeating itself? The same job that drains you, the same arguments that leave you exhausted, the same worries circling your mind like vultures that refuse to leave. Day after day, it feels like you are walking down the same hallway, opening the same doors, only to find the same rooms waiting inside. It's easy to look at this repetition and believe the story your mind whispers. This is who you are. This is what life is. This is all there is. But that story is a lie. You are not trapped, you are tuned. Stagnation is not a sign of weakness, and it's not evidence that your future is locked in concrete. It is an illusion created by living on one frequency for too long. Imagine a record player with a needle stuck in one groove. The song that was once beautiful now becomes unbearable, looping endlessly. If you judge the entire album by that one groove, you'd think the music was broken. But the truth is, the song hasn't ended. The needle just hasn't moved. Life works the same way. You are not stuck in a failing reality. You are simply caught in the loop of a single track. This illusion feels so convincing because it wears the mask of permanence. When your days look alike, your mind begins to tell you that change is impossible. You try harder, you push against the walls of circumstance, and yet the walls don't move. That immobility makes you doubt yourself. Maybe you're not capable. Maybe you missed your chance. Maybe you don't have what it takes. But what you're experiencing isn't destiny, it's resonance. The thoughts you rehearse, the emotions you nurture, the beliefs you replay, they create an echo chamber that feeds back the same reality to you. Think of it this way: a mirror doesn't create your reflection, it only repeats what you bring to it. If you stand frowning, the mirror will never smile back. Reality is the same. It's not punishing you, it's not blocking you. It's reflecting the groove of thought and focus you've been locked into. And when you mistake reflection for reality, you begin to believe you are powerless to change it. But here's the shift. Stagnation is not the end of the road, it is a signal. That suffocating sameness you feel is not proof of failure, it's proof that your soul is ready for a different frequency. The frustration you carry is not weakness, it's a compass pointing toward growth. What feels like a prison is actually a closed loop waiting for you to move the needle. So don't call yourself stuck. Don't call yourself broken. You are not trapped in an unchangeable fate. You are simply repeating what you've been unconsciously tuned into. The illusion of stagnation dissolves the moment you realize you hold the power to retune. And once you see that, you understand that every day is not a replay of yesterday, but an open invitation to shift the station of your life. Look closely at the thoughts that dominate your day. Most people think their struggles persist because of outside circumstances. An economy that's unstable, a job that won't change, a relationship that refuses to grow. But the real prison is not built of bricks and steel, it's built of focus. Whatever you stare at, whatever you feed with your attention expands, and without realizing it, many of us feed the very realities we desperately want to escape. Imagine holding a magnifying glass over a dry leaf under the sun. The sun has always been there, but the focused beam of light ignites a fire. The same energy that gives life to plants becomes destructive when concentrated in one place. Your mind works exactly like that magnifying glass. When you fixate on your struggles, the bills piling up, the mistakes you regret, the fears that keep you awake, you take the raw energy of your awareness and set fire to your peace. Focus makes the unwanted grow stronger. Here's the subtle trap: the more you resist what you dislike, the more attention you give it. When you complain about your situation, when you obsess over why it hasn't changed, when you rehearse the problem over and over in your head, you are feeding the very frequency that locks it in place. You may believe you're fighting against it, but in reality, you're watering the roots of the problem. Focus, no matter whether positive or negative, tells the universe, this matters to me. Keep it alive. Think about the last time you had a small irritation. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic or said something rude. If you let that irritation consume your mind, it didn't stay small, did it? It grew. Hours later, you were still thinking about it, replaying it, giving it life far beyond the moment it happened. That's the prison of focus. A single moment becomes a chain, dragging your entire day into its orbit. Now imagine this not for hours but for years, focusing on lack, focusing on failure, focusing on wounds that never seem to heal. That focus becomes the walls of your reality. But here's the truth most people miss. Focus is not punishment, it's power. The same attention that can trap you can also free you. What if instead of magnifying your problems, you magnified your possibilities? What if you shifted the beam of your mind toward gratitude, opportunity, and vision? The fire that once burned you could become the light that guides you. The prison could become a palace. The key is awareness. Once you realize that your focus is the architect of your experience, you stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming a deliberate creator. You cannot always control what happens, but you can choose where your attention lingers. And where your attention lingers, your life expands. The prison of focus is only a prison when you forget you hold the key. The moment you reclaim your attention, you reclaim your freedom. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the sound of static on a radio. That endless hiss, that unformed noise, it's irritating, it's uncomfortable. But if you listen long enough, you can almost convince yourself that static is all there is. And that's exactly what many people do with life. They confuse the static for reality. They confuse noise for truth. Here's the deeper truth. Static is not silence, and it is not the absence of music. Static is simply interference. It is the collision of signals, the mixing of frequencies, the distortion that drowns out the melody. Your life can feel the same way, chaotic, meaningless, repetitive, not because there is no music within you, but because you've been tuned to interference for so long that you've forgotten another station exists. Think about your daily existence. One moment you're motivated, the next you're overwhelmed. You try to build momentum, but the fear of failure cuts in. You dream about a better future, but then doubt whispers its noise. It's as if every time a clear signal comes through, the static rushes in and drowns it out. That's not failure, it's interference. Your true frequency, the one where your life flows with meaning and alignment, is still broadcasting. You just haven't learned to tune into it consistently. The danger of static is not just its noise, it's its familiarity. Over time. People start to mistake static for home. They build lives around it, relationships around it, habits around it. They tell themselves, this is just how life is. Confusing, stressful, draining. They forget the music they once believed in, the clarity they once trusted, and so the static becomes their identity. But here's the revelation: static has no substance of its own. It doesn't create, it only obscures. The moment you change the dial, the static vanishes, and the music that was always there emerges effortlessly. Life works the same way. The chaos, the confusion, the repetition, it feels permanent, but it's not. It is simply the interference caused by thoughts, fears, and beliefs colliding. Beneath the noise, another version of you is broadcasting, a version that is clear, whole, and alive. This is why so many people feel torn inside. They sense there's more, but they can't access it. It's like hearing the faint melody of a song through the crackle, knowing it's there but never fully catching it. That longing you feel. That pull inside your chest that says, I was made for something greater. That's the music calling you through the static. It's proof you're not broken. It's proof the melody is real. So, don't confuse static for truth. Don't mistake noise for destiny. The static of reality is only a signpost telling you, you're not tuned yet. And once you realize that, you no longer waste your life analyzing the noise, you begin searching for the station. Because the moment you shift that dial, the moment you align with the right frequency, the music of your life plays again, and it's been waiting for you all along. Picture reality not as a single road you're forced to walk, but as a vast radio with infinite stations. At every moment, countless versions of life are broadcasting simultaneously. There is a station where you are thriving financially. There is a station where love flows freely into your life. There is a station where your body feels strong, vibrant, and unshakable. And there is a station where peace replaces worry, where joy replaces exhaustion. All of these stations exist right now. The question isn't whether they exist. The question is, which one are you tuned to? Most people never learn this. They believe reality is fixed, like a prison cell with walls that cannot be moved. They live as though their only choice is to decorate the bars, not realizing they were never locked in the first place. The dial has always been in their hands. The trouble is, they've been so focused on the static that they forgot they could move it. Think about the last time you listened to the radio and couldn't quite get the station right. The music was there, but the interference distorted it. Did you assume the song didn't exist? No, you adjusted the dial. You moved even slightly until the clarity came through. Life works exactly the same way. When your circumstances feel unclear, chaotic, or repetitive, it's not because life is against you. It's because your consciousness is tuned to the wrong frequency. Here's the powerful part: you don't have to build a new reality from scratch. You don't have to force success, beg for love, or fight for peace. Those realities are already playing in the field of possibility. They exist now, complete and alive, waiting for you to select them. Your role is not to invent them, but to tune into them with the focus of your awareness. But here's where people get stuck. They try to twist the dial with force. They think sheer effort, endless struggle, and burning themselves out will finally make the music clear. Yet tuning is not about force, it's about precision. Slight shift in focus, a gentle adjustment in belief, a small redirection of your attention can change everything. The dial doesn't need to be slammed, it needs to be aligned. And here's the miracle: once you're aligned, life feels effortless. Just as music flows naturally once the static disappears, your actions begin to flow with power and clarity when you're tuned to the right reality. Opportunities appear that you couldn't see before. Energy rises where exhaustion once lived. Joy surfaces in moments that used to feel empty. Nothing outside has changed, you changed the station. So the next time you feel powerless, remember this: you're not stuck in one reality. You're simply tuned into one version of it. The dial is in your hands, and when you move it even slightly, you prove to yourself what was always true: reality is not fixed, it's fluid. And the version of life you desire has been playing, waiting, and calling to you all along. Have you noticed how exhausting it is to fight against what you don't want? You push, you struggle, you hustle endlessly, and yet the wall in front of you doesn't move. Every ounce of energy you spend resisting seems to make the wall stronger. This is the paradox of resistance. The harder you fight against your reality, the more life you give it. Think about quicksand. The instinct is to thrash, to resist, to claw your way out. But the more you struggle, the deeper you sink. The very energy you pour into escape is the energy that cements your trap. Life works the same way. Every time you fight against lack, every time you rage against your circumstances, every time you obsess over what's wrong, you sink deeper into the very thing you want to escape. This is why so many people live tired. Not tired from action, but tired from friction. Their days aren't exhausting because of what they're doing, but because of the constant inner war against what they don't want. They replay the same argument in their heads. They rehash the same failures. They worry about the same bills. And in doing so, they keep pouring gasoline on a fire they wish would burn out. Here's the painful truth: resistance is focus in disguise. You think you're rejecting something, but really, you're giving it your full attention. And focus, whether it's yes or no, is still energy that tells reality, keep this alive. When you say, I don't want to be broke, the universe doesn't hear the don't. It only registers the vibration of broke. When you think, I'm tired of being alone, what resonates is alone. The resistance strengthens the very reality you're trying to push away. But here's the shift that changes everything: resistance is not necessary. You don't need to fight against the life you don't want. You need to redirect. Imagine standing in a dark room yelling at the shadows to disappear. No matter how loud you scream, the shadows stay. But the moment you turn on a light, the shadows vanish without effort. You didn't conquer them. You simply shifted the conditions. That's the difference between resistance and alignment. The exhaustion you feel isn't because you're weak. It's because you've been fighting shadows instead of flipping the switch. Every struggle against what is drains your energy, while every act of alignment with what can be restores it. The shift is subtle, but it's everything. Instead of pouring energy into what you fear, you pour it into what you desire. Instead of feeding the problem, you feed the vision. And here's the miracle: the moment you stop resisting, the wall that felt so solid begins to dissolve. Because it was never concrete, it was energy sustained by your focus. The exhaustion lifts, the weight falls away, and suddenly space opens. Space for new opportunities, space for peace. Space for the life that's been waiting behind the static. So remember this truth: resistance doesn't free you, it binds you. But the moment you stop fighting against what you don't want, you release the very power you need to step into what you do. There is a power so underestimated, so misunderstood, that most people dismiss it without ever realizing it could change their entire lives. That power is surrender, not giving up, not quitting, not resigning yourself to whatever life throws at you. True surrender is none of those things. It is alignment. It is choosing to release the death grip on what's not working so your hands are finally free to hold what will. Most people live their lives clinging tightly to resistance. They hold on to fear. They hold on to their idea of how things should look. They fight reality tooth and nail, as if battling harder will finally force life into submission. But here's the truth: life doesn't bend to force. It responds to flow. And surrender is the gateway to flow. Think about a river. You could throw yourself against the current, exhausting yourself as you try to push the water back, demanding it move in the direction you prefer. Or you could let go, lean back, and allow the current to carry you forward. In one path, you drown in exhaustion. In the other, you glide effortlessly toward the ocean. That's surrender. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's realizing the universe already knows where to take you, if only you'd stop insisting on controlling every turn. Surrender doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop dreaming. It means you stop strangling the process with your fear. It means you trust that what is meant for you will not miss you, and what misses you is never meant for you. It means releasing the need to micromanage outcomes, and instead aligning yourself with the frequency of what you desire. Here's the paradox: the moment you stop fighting, what you've been chasing often comes running toward you. Opportunities that seemed impossible suddenly appear. Doors that were locked tight swing open with ease. People who once overlooked you begin to notice. Why? Because your energy has shifted. You've gone from resistance, where everything feels heavy, to surrender, where everything flows. Consider this: when you're tense, when you're forcing, when you're clutching, your field is closed. Nothing new can enter. But when you surrender, you open. You become a magnet instead of a chaser. And magnets don't chase, they attract. Surrender is gentle, but it is not passive. It requires courage to stop clinging. It requires faith to let go of the branch and trust the river. It requires humility to admit I don't have to control it all, because something greater is already guiding me. That is not weakness. That is power. And the beauty is this surrender doesn't take years of struggle. It can happen in an instant. Right here, right now, you can loosen your grip. You can stop resisting. You can choose alignment over control. And in that choice, you don't lose power. You finally gain it. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the observer shaping circumstance. The difference is everything. Because if you see yourself as a victim, life happens to you. You react. You defend. You scramble to survive. But when you understand yourself as the observer, life begins to happen through you. You correct. You command. Here's the truth: most people miss. Attention is not passive. It is power. Wherever you place your attention, energy gathers. And wherever energy gathers, form follows. That's why two people can live in the same world but experience two completely different realities. One sees scarcity, chaos, and limitation, because that's where their attention lies. The other sees opportunity, beauty, and expansion, because that's what they've trained their mind to notice. Same world, different frequency, different outcomes. Attention is the command and reality obeys. Think about this: when you observe something, you collapse its potential into form. This is not philosophy, it's physics. Observation gives shape to the invisible. Your focus acts like a spotlight on a stage. Wherever the light shines, that becomes the star of the show. Ignore the shadows and they disappear into irrelevance. But focus on them, and they dominate the performance. This is why you cannot afford to scatter your attention on what you don't want. Every time you replay your failures, every time you obsess over the problem, every time you feed your energy into fear, you are not just noticing reality, you are creating more of it. Attention is multiplication. Where it goes, life grows. But here's the liberating side: if you can place your attention on what you fear, you can place it on what you desire. If you can feed anxiety, you can feed possibility. If you can energize failure, you can energize success. The authority was never outside you. It has always been in your role as the observer. This is why discipline of mind is the highest form of freedom. Because when you learn to direct your attention, not to drift with every distraction, not to obsess over every obstacle, not to surrender your focus to fear, you begin to shape life consciously. You stop living by default and start living by design. The observer is not powerless. The observer is the architect. And once you realize this, you stop asking, why is life happening to me? And you start asking, what reality am I choosing to sustain with my attention? Because no matter what storms rage outside, you remain the one holding the spotlight. You remain the one with the authority to shift the scene. The first step to retuning reality is an action. It's presence. This is where most people get it wrong. They think change starts with frantic motion, with doing more, with grinding harder, but you can sprint in the wrong direction for years and still end up nowhere. Action without alignment is noise. True transformation begins not with force but with stillness. Presence is the 0 point, the reset button where all possibilities exist. Imagine a radio filled with static. No matter how loudly you turn up the volume, you don't hear the song. You only amplify the distortion. But when you return the dial to 0, when you bring it back to its neutral starting point, suddenly every station becomes available. That is what presence does. It silences the interference so that clarity can emerge. Here's the paradox: people run from stillness because they think nothing is happening there. But in truth, everything begins there. In stillness, the fog of resistance clears. The endless mental chatter loses its grip. The tension you've carried dissolves. And in that silence, you become aware of something extraordinary. The fact that all frequencies are available to you right now. Not someday. Not after years of effort, now. Presence is powerful because it removes distortion. Resistance is noise. Fear is noise. Doubt is noise. When you strip away the noise, what's left is pure awareness, the space where creation begins. From this place, you can choose your frequency consciously. You're no longer reacting to circumstance. You're tuning into alignment. Think of a musician before playing a masterpiece. They don't just grab the instrument and start hammering away. They tune it. They bring it into harmony with itself. Only then can music flow. Presence is you tuning yourself. Without it, your actions may look impressive, but they will always sound off-key. With it, even the smallest action resonates with power. And here's the key. Presence isn't found in the future. It isn't hidden in some achievement or milestone. It's right here in your breath. In this moment, you don't have to earn it, you only have to return to it. When you step into presence, you step outside of time. The regrets of the past lose their grip. The anxieties of the future dissolve. And suddenly you are free. From presence, life becomes simple. The path forward is no longer clouded with what if and what then. You simply listen, you simply align. And when you act from this place, your actions carry a weight far greater than anything forced or frantic ever could. The 0 point of presence is not empty. It is infinite. It is the gateway through which every frequency, every possibility, every version of your life is waiting to be chosen. Your life is not static, it is not stuck, lifeless, or frozen in time. It is a living, breathing symphony waiting for you to tune in. Every day life offers you notes, chords, and rhythms. Some sound like harmony, others sound like dissonance. But beneath it all, there is a melody that has always been yours, the song of your becoming. Too many people mistake silence for absence. They think because they can't hear the music yet, it doesn't exist. They call their lives stagnant, ordinary, meaningless. But the silence isn't absence, it's simply misalignment. The music is still playing. You just haven't tuned to the right frequency to hear it. Becoming is not about forcing yourself into something new. It is about remembering who you already are. At your essence, you are not static. You are designed for growth, for expansion, for resonance. When you align your frequency with that essence, the illusion of stagnation disappears. The noise falls away, and suddenly you awaken to a rhythm that was always yours. Think of an orchestra before the concert begins. Every instrument warming up, each one out of sync, creating chaos. That is what life feels like when you're misaligned. Movement without music, sound without song. But when the conductor raises their hand and every instrument comes into harmony, the chaos transforms into beauty. That conductor is your awareness. The moment you choose presence, the moment you align your frequency with your truth, the music begins. And here's the beauty: the song of your becoming isn't some distant finale. It's not waiting for the perfect day, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect you. It's happening now. Every choice, every shift in attention, every moment of surrender adds another note to the masterpiece. Even your struggles, even your mistakes, even your pain, these are not wasted. They are part of the song, adding depth, richness, and texture to your melody. The tragedy is not that people fail. The tragedy is that they stop listening. They get lost in the noise of comparison. They drown in the static of fear. They convince themselves that the music doesn't exist for them. And in doing so, they silence the very symphony that could set them free. But here's the truth: the music of your becoming has never stopped playing. It was there when you were a child, when you dreamed freely. It was there in your darkest nights, whispering hope. It is here now, waiting for you to align, to listen, to tune in. And when you finally do, you'll realize that the song is not just about where you're going. It's about who you are becoming along the way. So don't silence it. Don't ignore it. Don't assume the static is all there is. The music is waiting, and it has always been yours.